Welcome everybody to the Self-Improvement Podcast, where you come here to get better every single day.
And week. We release weekly.
Yeah, we release weekly. But what I mean by that, you're going to get better every single day.
Every time.
And I'm your host, Dalton Cox, as well as your other host, Ian. Say hello, Ian.
Yo.
And so take it away.
Alright. That was the most imperfect intro, but that's what makes us special. We're real here. We all need to improve. I need to improve. You need to improve. The guy lying on the couch needs to improve. But we're not going to talk about that. Today we're talking about school subjects we took for granted. We're going to talk about how you could optimize the format of your learning so that you're more motivated. Because even if you know your why, there's more stuff you could do, but the why part is what we talked about last time, and it's more foundational. We recommend that you go back and listen to it if you haven't already. And yeah, lots of good stuff. So to start it off, we're going to talk about why what you're learning isn't always a problem, but the format in which you're being taught is the problem sometimes.
Yeah, so you may have a teacher that is teaching it straight out of the book, and what you do is what she tells you to do is to fill out these papers that she assigns, and you're not really learning anything from it. And you won't prosper that way, because if you're not learning from it, then how are you going to pass that class and how are you going to graduate? Well, what you might have to do is finding another learning method. Take it into your own hands. Try out a game you could play. Flashcards. Memorization tricks. Whatever it may be. The possibilities are limitless, and you're the one that's going to make them.
YouTube videos.
I
I remember in chemistry and even in math, especially in math, I would learn what I had learned that day in class on YouTube, and it would just reinforce everything, and it would be super useful. So many things to experiment with. But I wanted to, touch on another thing, which is that your teachers are more flexible than you think. And you can negotiate a lot of things with them. I know I had my English teacher, his name is Mr. Barry. He was one of my most favorite teachers because he would allow a lot of freedom when it came to the format. But if it feels like your teacher isn't like that, you never know. You have to have that conversation with them. Be like, hey, I know we have to do this project, but I was wondering if I could do it this way. Would that work for you? Would that still help me learn what you want and need me to learn?
And while we're on the overall topic of school subjects we took for granted, it's more of a fancy name for what we're talking about.
Right.
About not taking for granted what you have. But I do want to use that to explain what I took for granted in school, which was Spanish class. I wish that I had paid attention and actually really tried to learn Spanish while it was being taught to me for free, because in 1 week from now I'm traveling to Barcelona, Spain, and it's probably would have paid off if I actually learned some Spanish, and because I would be able to communicate. So, yeah, that's something I took for granted in school. Is there anything that you think you took for granted in school, Ian?
So much. I took the extracurriculars I could be taking for granted. I knew there were accounting extracurriculars, marketing, right? All these things that I thought I wouldn't get into, but as I matured and realized that the world is being run by business every day, I started thinking about that. Hey, I'm paying thousands of dollars for coaches to learn marketing. Courses cost money as well, hundreds, even over $1,000 if you get the high-end ones. And I really shouldn't have taken those extracurriculars for granted. I should have signed up for more. But I was like not mature at the time when it came to like knowing what it actually takes to turn something into a business and then starting to create some cash flow. I feel like knowing exactly where you want to be is going to help you take more advantage of what you're being presented with in school.
The next topic we have for this subject is taking responsibility, not blaming the subject, and changing the way you're learning it. We kind of grasped that fact in the beginning and also a little bit in the last podcast. But here's the thing. If you're me and you're in Spanish and you're not learning the subject, I couldn't blame my Spanish teacher. Why couldn't I blame my Spanish teacher? Well, it's not my Spanish teacher's job to make sure that I prosper. Yeah, she's supposed to teach the subject, and maybe that's what the expectations from the school is, but guess what? People aren't going to make sure that you prosper. The only person that's going to make sure you prosper is you. So not blaming the subject, but changing the way I'm learning it. If I wanted to learn Spanish, I had to pay attention. I had to do the work, and when I didn't understand something, I should have taken advantage of having a teacher to help me. For free.
Yeah.
So
accountability. We had so much accountability. Because then when you get out of school, you don't have that expectation anymore.
Yes.
That's so big. I'm starting to realize that now.
They say that a lot in high school too. They're saying in college, you're not going to have a teacher that's going to chase you down for the homework. If you don't do the homework, they don't care. They're already paid. So the only person that is going to suffer is not the teacher. The teacher's not going to suffer if you don't do your work, if you don't pay attention. You are.
You're going to lose money and time.
Exactly. And that's what's so important is time. That is always the X variable. If you're familiar with a little bit of math and science, well, you'll know that the independent variable in mostly everything is time. You can't change time. You can't get back time. Time goes on regardless of what you do. And so what you do is take advantage of that time that you have, of that space that you're in.
The information, the accountability, the opportunity to take responsibility for the things that you should be learning.
There's this Chinese proverb, and it goes, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
I love that. And while we're on the subject of taking responsibility, this is something you're going to hear over and over again throughout our episodes, because we do that specifically because we want to just drive the point home. We want it to become something you do, something you are, not just another fancy concept. This is something you have to do. Not doing it, there's no point. And I also wanted to mention that you can't work hard at something if you're not taking responsibility. It's impossible. If you're working hard, that means that you have 100% control over what you're doing. And you're motivated because the stakes are high, you are responsible for it.
Yeah, so when I'm working at the YMCA in the Wellness Center, I'm all alone. It's just me. And I take responsibility of the tasks I need to accomplish. It's my responsibility to make sure everybody's safe in the gym, to make sure that our members are happy and that help that they need is given to them and that the equipment is clean for them to use. And by taking the responsibility and doing such, those things happen. People are kept safe. The equipment is kept clean. People are helped when they need help. And there is overall positive, good interaction and satisfaction within the community, within the members.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's a different environment though than school, but it's a healthy environment. Like, people think you gotta work for money, but also builds you up, and that is a separate subject. We're gonna talk about the nature of your work and the motivation behind it, but I just wanted to touch on that real quick because part of working is you're gonna pick up other skills such as taking responsibility. But back to school though. I used to remember that there were kids that weren't doing well and that I would try to help them. And when I did, I noticed that it's not that they weren't smart or anything. It's just that they weren't taking responsibility. They were the kind of people who would say, oh, it's the teacher's fault. They're not teaching well, or I don't like the teacher. Mm-hmm. Well, it's very obvious that you have a functional brain and cognitive ability. For the most part, like, I'm not, I know there's special cases, but for those people that I was trying to help, they couldn't be helped because even if they were right-minded, they weren't taking responsibility. Therefore, they couldn't work hard.
Yeah, I agree. You have to have humility. You have to know that it's me who's at fault here. Once you realize that you need to be better and you need to change and that you need to take ownership, then you can. And when you don't, even if somebody's out there to try to help you, you're not going to improve.
And the reason for that is because we're looking for an instant gratification. When you take responsibility, it might not feel the best because now there's blame on you, or there's like stress that comes with it in the short term, but then in the long term,
delayed gratification, baby. So just to get a little bit deeper into this, people love to eat cookies. Cookies taste amazing. And ice cream, don't get me started on ice cream. I could eat ice cream all day. But what's gonna happen if I eat ice cream all day? I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna be unhealthy. And if I have lactose intolerance, I'm gonna have a pretty bad day on the toilet. So that's the difference between instant and delayed gratification. Instant gratification is great. Right when you do it, it feels good and it makes you happy. But 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a day, a week, a month down the road, if you keep pursuing instant gratification, you are going to suffer rather than delayed gratification. Yeah, it might suck to hammer out that project, to do that homework assignment, to study for that test, to pay attention in class instead of talking with your friends, instead of playing video games, instead of going outside for a walk. Yeah, there are some other possibilities you can do that may help you in life, but really, once you focus on what's going to help you in the long term, that's when you're going to prosper.
And with that, we will close this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Dalton, for your amazing energy that you bring on here. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you find the right format for you and learning to take more responsibility.